And shortly thereafter, Fallon will be gone. These are people with absolutely no talent who are paid millions of dollars for, in all cases, destroying what used to be great television. It's really good to see them go, and I hope I played a major part in it. Oh, you delicate, chubby little teacup. Did we hurt your feelings? You want us to be canceled because we make jokes about you? I thought you were against cancel culture. I thought that was like their whole thing. When did you become so woke?
The irony is sharper than a late-night punchline gone wrong. Jimmy Kimmel's show gets axed, but instead of retreating, he takes aim at the man whose political circus has fueled comedy gold for nearly a decade, President Donald Trump. The very cancellation meant to silence Kimmel becomes his microphone, and every barb he throws lands like a heavyweight punch. If Trump thought he dodged the late-night spotlight, Kimmel just proved that the roast doesn't need a stage. It only needs a target.
I don't necessarily feel like I'm defending democracy, but I do feel like I'm giving this guy a little poke, and he deserves it, and I enjoy it, and I love that people enjoy it too.
Jimmy Kimmel doesn't mourn in silence, he reloads. The news of his show's cancellation could have been the cue for a quiet exit, a polite bow, and a press release dripping with gratitude. Instead, Kimmel treated it like free ammunition against the one man who's allergic to ridicule. The cancellation became a prop, and Trump became the clown juggling the consequences. In a way, it's poetic. Kimmel loses airtime, but Trump loses dignity on a global scale.
It's impossible. You can't turn him off. He won't power down. He's like Ultron. He just keeps going. Every day, it's something crazier than the next. I made a list. This is all in the last 2 months. I made you a quick list. I will run through it. He paved over the Rose Garden. He's building a golden ballroom at the White House. He's planning a UFC fight at the White House. He cut off Kamala Harris's Secret Service protection. He named himself host of the Kennedy Center honors. He went to Alaska to bend over for Putin. He sent military tanks into Washington, D.C. He said the Smithsonian focuses too much on how bad slavery was.
What makes this hit particularly brutal is the timing. Trump, strutting around as if every headline is a coronation, suddenly finds himself as the subject of Kimmel's sharpest set yet. No audience, no cue cards, no network polish, just raw fire aimed at a president who believes adoration is constitutional. It's the comedy equivalent of pulling the rug out from under someone mid-victory dance, leaving Trump wobbling like a reality TV star who just realized the cameras kept rolling after the meltdown.
This morning, Trump warmed up for his date with the British press by yelling at a reporter from Australia who dared to ask about the billions of dollars he's been raking in since the election.
President Trump said a president in office should be engaged in so much business activity.
Well, I'm really not. My kids are running the business. I'm here. You know what the activity, where are you from?
I'm from the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, Four Corners Program.
Well, the Australians, you're hurting Australia, right? In my opinion, you are hurting Australia very much.
Kimmel zeroes in on the irony of Trump's public image. This is a man who built his empire on branding, plastering his name on towers, stakes, and failed universities, only to become the punchline of every branding disaster in modern politics. Kimmel points out that while his own show might be gone, the legacy remains untarnished. Trump's legacy, on the other hand, is permanently inked with lawsuits, impeachments, and speeches that sound like the world's longest blooper reel.
You're against cancel culture. I thought that was like their whole thing. When did you become so woke? Unfortunately for Frosty the Snowflake, the only place we are going is to New York. Once again, we are packing up our Hailey Bieber smoothies and headed to Brooklyn for a week of shows at BAM, the Brooklyn Academy of Music, starting September 29th, ending October 3rd. And one of our guests that week, we have great guests lined up, will be my good friend Stephen Colbert. We have a lot to talk about.
The roast doesn't stop there. It slices through Trump's obsession with ratings. Few things make Trump's blood boil faster than numbers, especially when they're not in his favor. Kimmel highlights how a canceled show still managed to outtrend Trump's rallies, exposing the brittle ego hiding beneath that oversized suit jacket. Imagine the humiliation. A late-night host without a platform still draws more attention than a sitting president trying to command a nation. It's like losing a shouting match with a mime.
非常に傷つけており、彼らは私と仲良くしたいと思っている。ほら、あなたたちのリーダーがもうすぐ私に会いに来る。私は彼にあなたのことを話すつもりだ。あなたは非常に悪い口調で言った。どうぞジョン。彼はなんて告げ口屋なんだ。つまり、 彼の首相に彼のことを話すつもりだ。私は彼にあなたがひどいことを言ったと告げるつもりだ。あなたは大変なことになるだろう。彼は決断を下す必要がある。独裁者になりたいのか、それともただの嫌な奴になりたいのか。
Kimmel then dismantles Trump's self-styled persona as the people's champion. The contradiction is glaring. Here's a man who wraps himself in the American flag while outsourcing his merchandise to factories overseas. Kimmel skewers that hypocrisy, painting Trump as a patriot for profit whose loyalty extends no further than the balance sheet. Even without a monologue desk, Kimmel nails the punchline. Trump loves America the way a landlord loves a tenant's rent check. It's transactional, shallow, and always late. There's also the brutal reminder of Trump's endless quest for validation. Kimmel frames it perfectly. The most powerful man in the country still whines like a contestant booted off The Bachelor. Whether it's obsessing over crowd sizes or retweeting praise from Twitter bots with usernames like Patriot Eagle 1776, Trump's thirst for applause is insatiable. Kimmel weaponizes that need, mocking how even in the White House, Trump still acts like a Vegas lounge act begging for one more encore. But the sharpest cut comes when Kimmel connects Trump's legacy to the broader entertainment world. Politics under Trump hasn't been governance, it's been spectacle, a reality show spinoff that overstayed its welcome. Kimmel lays out the comparison. Where reality TV thrives on chaos, Trump thrives on division. Where contestants cling to attention, Trump clings to grievance. And while every show eventually gets canceled, Trump seems determined to drag the series past its expiration date long after the audience has switched the channel.
There's a rumor making the rounds this weekend that Trump was dead because he hadn't been in front of a camera for a few days. That's how much he's in front of a camera. When we don't see him there, we assume he must be dead. And also he has mysterious bruising on his hand, which they tried to cover up with makeup. And this cover-up's even sloppier than the Epstein one. How can anyone...
The roast digs into Trump's fragile relationship with critics. Kimmel points out that Trump spends more time bashing comedians than addressing crises, as if late-night jokes were national security threats. This obsession becomes comedy in itself. Imagine a president who should be handling economic policy, but instead rage-watches monologues on YouTube at 3 a.m. Kimmel doesn't need a laugh track to highlight the absurdity. Trump provides it himself every time he launches into a meltdown over punchlines. Kimmel also draws blood by mocking Trump's fixation on revenge. The imagery is brutal. Trump as the aging jock trying to relive touchdowns while everyone else moved on to careers, families, and functioning vocabularies. The cancellation itself becomes the perfect metaphor. Kimmel suggests that while networks might end shows, history has a different kind of cancellation waiting for Trump. It's not about airtime, it's about legacy. Kimmel paints a picture of Trump's story being archived not in monuments, but in comedy reels, courtroom transcripts, and embarrassing clips replayed on every platform until they become folklore. It's a cancellation no spin doctor can rewrite.
僕はイギリスにいます。いや、イギリスと呼ばないように注意しなければなりませんが、彼は耐え難いパディントンで、王室との公式訪問のためにイングランドにいます。ティータイムがゴルフと何の関係もないと知ったら彼はとても怒るでしょう。王室メンバーは明日、大統領夫妻を出迎えるとみられるが、賢い英国人らはすでに準備を進めている。レッドカーペットとまでは言わないが、トランプ氏と友人ジェフリー氏のキングコング級の写真だ。
From there, Kimmel pivots to the theme of credibility. He points out that while losing a show is a professional setback, losing credibility is a permanent stain. Trump's record is littered with contradictions, from promising to drain the swamp while surrounding himself with career lobbyists to claiming fiscal responsibility while ballooning the national debt. Kimmel roasts the inconsistency with surgical precision, portraying Trump as a magician who keeps pulling scandals out of his hat long after the audience sees the trick. One of the most brutal aspects of Kimmel's hit is how he contrasts his own cancellation with Trump's obsession over fake news. Kimmel jokes that at least his show had real viewers, whereas Trump's audience is half made up of bots and sycophants clapping on cue. The sting lands because it's true. Trump's rallies are less about ideas and more about theatrics, a traveling circus where the ticket price is blind loyalty. Kimmel doesn't need a stage to turn that into the joke of the century. Even the imagery Kimmel employs is cutting. He describes Trump as a man constantly auditioning for applause, but forever missing his lines. Every appearance is a blooper reel in real time, every policy announcement delivered like a stand-up set that bombs. It's the comedy of errors elevated to national policy, and Kimmel makes sure the audience never forgets that Trump isn't just the punchline, he's the entire failed script.
Every day, he is definitely not dead.
How did you find out over the weekend that you were dead?
Now, watch this, because who's the only one smiling in that group? That's right. Good old JD. He hears the words Trump dead, he lights up like a Christmas tree.
The takedown also emphasizes Trump's inability to escape accountability. Kimmel highlights the never-ending parade of investigations and lawsuits circling Trump like vultures over a carcass. While Trump paints himself as the victim of witch hunts, Kimmel flips the narrative. If you keep attracting witches, maybe you're the cauldron. The punchline stings because it reframes Trump's victimhood into farce, the melodrama of a man allergic to responsibility. Perhaps the most brutal blow is the reminder that Trump is terrified of irrelevance. Kimmel notes how Trump clings to headlines like Oxygen, terrified that one day the spotlight will move on. That's the irony Kimmel savors most. While his own show may have been canceled, he remains part of the conversation. Trump, meanwhile, dreads the day he becomes yesterday's news. For a man who equates attention with existence, that's the ultimate punchline. The roast crescendos with Kimmel turning Trump's brand against him. The man who sold himself as the ultimate dealmaker is now remembered for government shutdowns, broken promises, and international gaffes that left allies cringing. Kimmel roasts the mythology of Trump the businessman, reducing it to a collection of bankrupt casinos and a university scam that couldn't pass a community college syllabus. The empire of gold letters becomes nothing more than gilded embarrassment.
トランプは今日、ニューヨークタイムズを訴えた初の大統領となった。彼はニューヨークタイムズを名誉毀損で150億ドルで訴えている。150億ドル。一体どこから彼の名前が出てくるんだ？これは私の子供がお金の話をするときにでっち上げた数字みたいだ。彼はニューヨークタイムズは破綻していると言っていたはずだ。彼はニューヨークタイムズには150億ドルあると思っているのだ。もし彼らがうまくやっていると彼が思っていたら、一体いくら訴訟を起こすだろうか？トランプ氏は今朝、この訴訟を発表した。彼はこう綴った。本日、私は、我が国しかみ最悪かつ最も堕落した新聞社の一つであるニューヨークタイムズに対し150億ドルの名誉毀損及び虚偽記載訴訟を起こすという栄誉に抑しました。タイムズは皆さんのお気に入りの大統領、私の家業、アメリカ第一運動、マガ、そして我が国全体について何十年にも
Kimmel doesn't even need to exaggerate. The facts provide the comedy. Trump's presidency is a ready-made satire, overflowing with contradictions, impulsive decisions, and blunders so consistent they feel scripted. Every headline reads like a parody. Every press conference like an unrehearsed skit gone wrong. Kimmel doesn't stretch the truth. He simply arranges the chaos into a storyline sharper than any memo from a television executive. It's not invention, it's arrangement. A collage of Trump's missteps displayed for maximum effect. Take the endless contradictions. The irony bites harder because it isn't fiction. It's a reel of promises evaporating before delivery. Then there are the gaffes. Those unscripted moments that linger longer than speeches. A president who prided himself on strength constantly tripped over basic details, geography, and even his own narratives. Kimmel seizes those moments, showing how a slip of the tongue reveals more truth than 1,000 rehearsed lines. Each error becomes part of a blooper reel, a running commentary on how unpreparedness can be broadcast in high definition. The comedy doesn't come from exaggeration. It comes from watching a leader stumble through sentences like an amateur comic bombing on open mic night.
The other thing everyone kept asking me about over the summer is if I'm moving to Italy. As I mentioned on the Sarah Silverman podcast that I got dual citizenship through my mother, who has Italian citizenship. And oh man, the MAGA gang went nuts.
Late-night comedian Jimmy Kimmel confirming he has obtained Italian citizenship.
Jimmy Kimmel's so scared he's drafting an escape plan.
We could see Jimmy Kimmel evidently leave sometime soon. He would say ciao.
How is he Italian? There's no way he's Italian.
You know, I didn't realize he was Italian.
I didn't know he was Italian. I'm kind of disappointed.
It's like, okay, Italy's great, but also there's not a lot of air conditioning or ice, so go for it.
Yeah, good luck.
The unintentional self-parody is where Kimmel's roast cuts deepest. Trump often mimicked the very traits he mocked in others, acting out the caricatures he once criticized. He ridiculed opponents as weak, yet spent hours fuming over monologues from comedians. He mocked leaders as indecisive, yet reversed his own positions within days. Kimmel threads these contradictions together, presenting a portrait of a man whose strongest opponent has always been his own reflection. It's a cycle of projection and collapse, comedy born from a loop of self-inflicted wounds. In flipping the script, Kimmel demonstrates how a cancellation doesn't silence a voice, it amplifies it. The enduring irony centers on Trump's obsession with winning. For him, victory is measured in applause, headlines, and domination of the spotlight. Yet the louder he proclaims triumph, the more evident his insecurities become. Kimmel highlights this paradox. The man who insists on being seen as invincible is remembered most for fragile outbursts, desperate bragging, and a legacy tied more to memes than milestones. The The louder Trump shouts, the easier it is for comedians to turn the volume into punchlines.
And our nation as a whole, the New York Times has been allowed to freely lie, smear, and defame me for far too long, and that stops now. And then he follows it with, this suit is being brought in the great state of Florida. Uh-oh. And will be heard by Judge Dog the Bounty Hunter, my new appointee. Trump is, he won't win this. And the New York Times won't settle. Trump says the Times is run by a bunch of lefties. He claims they're a mouthpiece for the Democrats. And I have to say, I did do today's Wordle, and I don't know if you...
Kimmel's cancellation morphs into a badge of honor precisely because it fuels his roast. Losing a stage doesn't diminish him. It proves his comedy survives in any format. The lack of a show frees him from constraints, allowing him to target Trump without time slots, sponsors, or networks trimming edges. What might have been a setback transforms into liberation. The result is a harsher, unfiltered takedown of a president whose every move is ripe for ridicule. Trump, in contrast, becomes the parody he cannot escape. His greatest achievement is not policy, negotiation, or reform, but his ability to provide endless material for comedians. Kimmel doesn't need to create characters. Trump supplies them. He doesn't invent scenarios. Trump lives them. The walking parody is so consistent that every attempt at seriousness collapses into comedy. In trying to control the narrative, Trump ensures he remains the punchline. The humiliation deepens because Trump cannot outlast this ridicule. Television shows end, networks pivot, but mockery is permanent. Once laughter attaches to a legacy, it doesn't fade, it multiplies. Kimmel's roast guarantees that Trump's story will not be remembered with grandeur, but with punchlines echoing across late-night reruns, viral clips, and the archive of history itself. The cancellation was supposed to silence a critic, yet it amplified the one truth Trump fears most. His power may expire, but the ridicule never will.